Alright, so this Halloween has taught me a few things, so I wanted to kind of document them. And it is sealing bones. Wow. Bones are incredibly hard to electroform. It's like probably the worst surface in the world. And there was another one, it was red coral. Okay, I still haven't figured out red coral. But bones, I figured those out. So I will share the documentation of that. So here is a bone that has been electroformed, and you don't see any blue on it. Cool. Now, I don't like this color. It reminds me of like one of those cheap plastic bones that you find in like a kid's toy store. So, yeah, that's how you seal them. But what I want to do is make them really cool looking too. So this is walnut stain. It's just pure walnuts. So go outside, find a whole bunch of walnuts, boil them in water. Do this outside. I would, like put it on like a little burner outside. Boil a big pot of like walnuts and strain the water out, and you have this dye that allows you to dye bones, and you can dye them to look like this, like zombie bones. Isn't that awesome? Wow. Does a really good job. Amazing stuff. So that's what I wanted. I want kind of a zombie bone look. Or if you don't want that, you get the regular bones. But how do I seal this in? And the answer is something woodworkers have been using for a long time. Super thin super glue. Okay? Super thin super glue. Bob Smith's so far works the best, I've noticed, and I've tried Hot Shot and this. I've liked this the best. You cannot apply this with a brush. You have to apply it just like this. A little at a time, and rotate. And rotate. And now that the bone has been sort of dyed, it's really easy to see where you missed something. You have to give it like 3 coats of this stuff, and you still have to use latex on it. But at least when you take the latex off, it leaves this nice shine behind. So this does not get rid of latex, but it seals in the color of the bone, so you don't have to electroform the whole bone. You can keep it the natural look of the bone. I have found these things work really good. So you put a clothespin around it, and then you hang this up to dry for about 5 minutes, and then you can do the other side. You can also do this with deer horn. So if you do a lot of deer horn stuff, works really good on deer horn. Let me show you a couple examples, and yeah, hold on. So here is some deer horn ones. And you can see that shine that got left behind. It's sealed, but it's subtle. This was like only 1 coat of that super glue. Electroformed. And I get to leave that natural look of the bone behind. Hunters love these things. Deer hunter specials, call them. Alright, so I want to show you compositioning, because compositioning is one of those things that I really, struggled with a lot. What to use where. So there's different, like I have conductive ink that is very good at organics, but since this is covered with super glue, I wouldn't be able to use that ink because it would eat into the super glue. So the idea here is there are different glues, different conductive paints that we use for different compositions. So in this composition, I would have to use a water-based conductive paint, not an acetone conductive paint. Okay? So in this case, Mod Podge and graphite. Sweet. So I don't use that right yet, but that's coming up. Got this ring. So what I need to do is kind of form that to it. This is out of 20 gauge copper, so it's really easy to kind of form around. And I love the texture on the back side. So actually I want that texture on the front side. So I'm going to go like that. .20 gauge copper sheeting. Cool. So now I'm just going to glue this to this. Alright, sweet. I just put some super glue on here and holding it. I do not want to hold it forever though, so some baking soda. Just to get down in the cracks, I'm going to blow this off camera. Cool. So now I'm going to let that dry just a little bit, like 5 minutes, and then work on the next part of the composition. So I'm hoping to show multiple techniques with this. So I'm going to choose these just because they are transparent. They're fade-in quartz. So in order for this to look good in this composition, they would have to have the backs painted on them. Because if you didn't do that, the conductive paint would show on the back side. So I'm going to paint the fade-in quartz with nail polish. And it doesn't matter what color that you choose. I want a kind of a natural look to this though. I don't want like flashy red weird going on. So I might just choose like a silvery white. Okay, so this part of the composition, I just need some super glue here in the front. This is some thick super glue. So I'm just going to lay down a bead of it. And then arrange all my crystals. So for this one I'm going to kind of wiggle it around some so it gets more on the back of it. And then put all the painted sides down. And then with my third hand, kind of hold them into place and bury the whole thing in baking soda. And that freezes everything into place. Then again, There we go. So you do have a few seconds to kind of manipulate these around if you want. Then anytime you move something, again, baking soda. And there we go. Cool. I'll let that dry for about 5 minutes and then I'll go on to the next phase. Well, the super glue is kind of thick, so maybe 15-20 minutes actually. So, all right, now for some painting. Very important that you stir your paint. So this is 50% graphite, 50% Mod Podge. Again, since this has super glue on it, I don't want to introduce any kind of like solvent-based ink. And this is some really thin stuff so that it sort of just goes underneath things. Like flows into the cracks and crevices. Alright, time to paint the backside. I found my brush. I love these things. These are very, very long sabled brushes. Some people use them for pinstriping. But it really allows me to get underneath things. Okay, this next step is to pretty much mask off anything that you don't want stained by your electroforming solution. And I use, again, liquid latex. Now you can use this liquid latex or any kind of liquid latex, it doesn't really matter. There's several brands. I will say I almost want a colored liquid latex, so when I get done in 20 years using this, because it does last you a long time, I'll probably get some colored liquid latex. So if I had to go back in time, I probably would have got some of the colored liquid latex. Some red or something like that. That way you can kind of see it afterwards. So I'll show you what this piece looks like after the patina, because I got several of these in different stages right now. But yeah, pretty much you can even paint right over the top of some of that conductive fluid. Trust me when I say this, it'll grow right over the top of it. It'll like creep around. And I would give it, really thick coat of this stuff. The thicker you got it, the easier it is to remove after the fact. Alright, so that's my next stage of the composition. So I'm going to paint this and I'll be right back. Alright, so in most cases, just after electroforming, so these are all electroformed now. I think that, yeah, this is the one we were working on. See all the bubbles, texture, awesome. So in my workflow, I patina. So because of the latex, it allows me to do that too without staining the antler or bone, along with the extra protection of the super glue. So I just dip it in here. And let that set for about 10 or 15 minutes. Okay, so this is what happens when they're all done. For the composition, you just take steel wool and you just go like this, and it brings back all the details and keeps all the patina in all the cracks and crevices. And you can be as rough as you want with it. Now that all the details are back, that's when you can release the mask. So this is what the mask looks like. So I can kind of go like this and just peel the mask off. Just like that. That's why I want to get it a little thick on there so it peels off nicely. And there's a finished piece. Just like that. Cool. So that was some examples of composition, like clear coating, putting different color backs on crystals, how to mount them, when you paint them, all that good stuff. You can use those examples in any of your pieces. I think those were some of the more complex ones, all in one type of demonstration. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed the video, and have a good one.